welcome to the webinar today. Ali, thank you for doing this.
Good morning. I'm excited.
Excited to have you here. I mean, we've done webinars talking about technology, best practices, etc. But having someone who manages a property here to talk about their side of the story, their experience is just very unique. And all, not just us at SiteRecon, but everyone who's here, we really appreciate the opportunity and really appreciate you taking the time out today.
Of course, I'm excited.
So guys, welcome to the webinar. I'm co-founder and CEO of SiteRecon. SiteRecon is a property mapping solution for landscape maintenance companies to help you deliver exceptional customer service. And Ali is about to talk about what that means. And we do that by helping you solve all the steps in that journey, from prospecting to estimating to handover to site assessments to site audits and renewals. We help you through that journey, make it very easy for you. And so as we go through our discussion today, Ali, I'll show you some assets that we sort of prepared that can be used in the proposal or in the estimate, and love to get your reactions on it as we go through that discussion.
Okay, great.
Quick housekeeping item, guys. The session is being recorded, so you will get a recording afterwards. If you want to ask questions, there's a Q&A button at the bottom of the toolbar. Put your questions in there. We'll take them up live as we go along. As we answer them, we'll keep moving through. If you got comments, use the chat box. And I hope you are ready to take in some learnings, because Ali here has got a lot to share. Ali, again, thank you so much for being here. Let's just kick this off by asking you, what got you into property management?
Yeah, so like you said, my name is Ali Breland. I am a senior property manager for Colliers International. I have been in the real estate industry for almost 15 years now, which is kind of crazy to say. I started off in residential management in Atlanta, managing apartments throughout the city, and then got into commercial management around 2014. I am currently in Huntsville, Alabama. My husband is from here, so I moved here from Atlanta. So I guess I am an Alabama girl now, I guess you could say that. I have a pretty large footprint here in Huntsville. I manage almost 2 million square feet. So it's about 29 different buildings. So every day is different. I've always wanted to do some type of management and just kind of found my way into the real estate market, and love what I do.
Awesome. So the 29 properties that you manage, what kind of properties these are? All office buildings?
So the majority of them are office. I have a little bit of industrial flex, which is office with somewhat of a warehouse component to them. But yes, majority of them are Class A, Class B office buildings.
Understood. So at Colliers, how do they look at the key performance indicators for a property manager working there? Like how do they look at, oh, we are doing a great job?
Sure. So I'm a third-party management company. So I work for about 5 different owner clients. So really how we track that is tenant retention, leasing, turnover, NOI. We track it a lot of different ways. And so really landscape is the first thing that you see when you pull into a building. It can make or break if a tenant wants to lease there or if they want to renew there. So, we track it, a couple different ways.
Very interesting. So have people left because of bad landscapes in a property? Not yours, like generally speaking.
Not in my buildings, no, but yes, of course, yes.
Interesting. So that's literally one of the most important things for a property manager to make sure that's just.
Sure, absolutely. I've had tenants come to me who have been at a building for a long period of time, and they've said, hey, if we want to renew, we'd like for you to install sod at our entrance or install flowers in front of our space. So they'll use it to their advantage. Absolutely.
Oh, wow. So it's right on top. That's crazy. I never knew. All right. So when you got tenants like that, then obviously, your landscaping partner becomes like a really important piece of the whole equation. What kind of landscaper are you looking out for? Is it someone who, yeah, sorry, go on. I want to hear you.
You're fine. I'm really looking for somebody that I have an open dialogue with. We're communicating pretty much weekly, multiple days a week. My current vendor, if I notice something going on in a building, I want to be able to shoot them an email and it'd be done that week. So it's really kind of just an open dialogue, good relationship based. I'm looking for somebody who's, quick to respond. A lot of the times here in Alabama, we have severe storms. I have a fantastic landscaper right now. By 8 o'clock in the morning, he's already driven around all my buildings, told me where trees are down, and making sure he knows he's got it. So really just that kind of open communication is really what I'm looking for.
Got you. And on that communication, are you texting? Are you making calls?
I don't love texting. I'm a little bit older than I probably look, but I like emails. But yes, we're calling, we're texting, we're emailing, and that varies from property manager to property manager.
Understood. And so from what you're saying, you almost want to feel like they're part of your team,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And so it's they can cut the grass and go, but they have to you have to be totally updated on what's going on.
Yeah, I don't want to get to a building and notice something, notice dead flowers in beds or weeds everywhere and have to bring it to their attention. I would like them to come to me and say, hey, we have an irrigation problem here. I'm on it. Just wanted you to know we'll pull these flowers tomorrow or whatever. As long as they're communicating with me, I'm cool. I understand. But if I have to get to the building, notice something and they're not even aware of it, then it's a little frustrating.
100%. Nick says proactive, so that's right on point.
Absolutely. Yeah, proactive.
All right. So let's start at the beginning of that process of this relationship, right? So that would start, let's say you want to put an RFP out. Before you even put an RFP out, you would have this list of, folks who would get that RFP, right?
Correct. So a lot of it is based on reputation. So typically an owner requires you to have 3 bids. So I'm really choosing 3 people, unless it's a huge portfolio that we need to bid out, I would maybe do 4, but typically it's just about 3 bids. And really I'm picking people that I've had a positive experience with in the past, that I currently use, that I like, or recommendations from colleagues. So it really is a lot of it's based on reputation. And so, yeah, it starts there. And I'm basically choosing those 3 vendors that I'm sending, the scope of work to. I send each one of them the same exact scope. So everybody's bidding apples to apples. And then I typically give, a time frame. Hey, I need this back by, whatever it is, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, depending on the building. It could be 1 week or, a month. We're just trying to gauge the market. We need to rebid it out, whatever that might be.
Understood. I want to get into that whole RFP process in a minute. I had a couple of questions on just getting on that list. You said it's reputation, it's existing relationships. Someone starting from scratch, they seem to have no hope in this.
Oh no. So Huntsville is a small market. So, everybody knows everybody, but let's say I'm in a new city. I don't know anything. I don't know anybody. How would I choose? Maybe that's a good question to ask. So I'm always going to seek out colleagues, ask them their recommendations. I'm never just going to go blind into a new contract with a vendor. That seems it's risky for me, just because landscape is a huge component of our buildings and really, keeping tenants. So, I would first seek out other people's opinions. And then, I allocate a lot of my time once a month to, I'm a member of these real estate organizations. So I would really kind of recommend any vendors to join, any of the real estate organizations like BOMA or IREM, any kind of, group that allows you to network with property managers. That way you can really kind of get to know them. So that's kind of how, if I didn't know anybody, I would probably start there. And then if you are super persuasive, I'd throw you a bone, and I would let you bid on a building as well.
What's that being persuasive look like without being, offensive?
And checking in with me, I would say once a month. Hey, Ali, love to get on your bid list. I know we don't know each other very well. Honestly, gone are the days where I can go to lunch with a vendor and get to know them. I don't have a lot of time. Like I said, I have a huge footprint here. So when I get to work, I'm nose down trying to get everything done. So really, I don't have the luxuries of going out to lunch with people and getting to know people that way. So yeah, just continual checking in. You might not get a response, but I see that you're trying, and I like that.
Very cool. If, someone sends over chocolates and cookies on Christmas, does that help?
We love that. We love that. Absolutely.
And then, okay, so that's awesome. Let's talk about the RFP. One thing that we've heard a lot from our customers is a lot of RFPs don't come with property boundaries, and like what defines like the spatial scope of work.
Sure.
Why is that the case?
So a lot of the times when you acquire a new building, you don't always have those documents. And so it takes time for us to have to go, basically get onto Google Earth and have to map it out for each landscaper. So it's time consuming. And we also don't have those documents if we are, typically it's not given in a due diligence packet. So that's why we don't usually incorporate that into the bid. But I understand why it'd be super beneficial. Typically the landscaper, if they have questions, they'll, ask me, hey, we had a question about this property line. Is this included? And then, we can go over it, but typically no, it's not included, but it'd probably be a good thing to add. Absolutely.
Got you. So if they walk into your office and trying to get onto that list and they have like your property map with them.
That'd be awesome. That would be awesome. Yes.
All right.
Saves me time for sure.
100%. So that's a way to get on that list, guys.
That's right.
Sweet. All right. So that RFP document, it gets handed down. There's like standard package for Colliers and so on. So when you put it out, there's a lot these guys have to triangulate, right? Like there's the RFP, there's like your priorities, your tenants, and then like just current site conditions. What's your recommendation on like what they should prioritize in like all of this?
I wouldn't say that they need to worry about the tenants or current prospects. Really, it's just the property at hand. So as long as they're pricing maintenance throughout the year, typically we're looking for mulch application or pine straw application twice a year, and then color application twice a year. So that's really the base that we're looking for is monthly maintenance, color, and straw. And then if, we're also looking for recommendations for enhancements, that will be listed as well. Typically, I don't do that until we have the contract in place, and then we can look at, any kind of enhancements needed.
Got you. So in that RFP process, you had that list, you sent it out. What happens after that?
I wait and I see what vendors or, groups come back with any kind of questions. If somebody, depending on what I'm asking. So if it's a huge portfolio, I would expect them to have honestly a bunch of questions. It's probably a huge gain for them, and it's a huge risk for me. So if somebody just sends me a bid, through email without any kind of questions, I'm not looking for that. There's just no way they could have known how they can be successful at that property. So I'm looking for people who are asking questions, who want to meet me, who, hey, I'm on site, I have a question about this. Is this included? That's I'm just looking for, like I said, communication, engagement, really just that they're hungry and they want to learn the buildings.
Due diligence too, at some level, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Got you. So that's one big piece of your first impression. Let's say there are a couple of guys doing that. What else has stood out for you when you're like, even before the numbers come in, like, do you start developing some kind of a preference for one versus the other?
Yeah, I mean, I've had people, every situation is different. Every owner is different. So I have owners who are great, who understand the importance of investing in a great landscape company. And then I have owners who aren't so great, who are really kind of price driven. They don't really see the benefits. So I've been in situations before where my buildings probably look pretty bad because my owners, they don't understand, what an advantage it is. So I've had a vendor during this process before they even turned in numbers say, your properties look awful. So those aren't things I would probably say, that's a reflection on me. And, I don't love that. So, I look at things like that. So how we're already talking to each other, how you're already, if you come in negative, don't love that. Like I said, really, I'm looking at communication.
I hear you. So, do you share that upfront with your vendors? Like, this is the kind of owner we've
Yeah.
got here?
Mhm. Typically,
Okay.
yes.
I see. That's very important actually, because you were just talking about gross margins, if you remember. Like, you then know what level of service is required,
Right.
and because good service just needs more overhead. You need more quality checks, more people to visit and make sure nothing is missed.
Right. Right.
Even
Yeah,
crews.
and I'll typically tell them, hey, this isn't a property where we're going to be able to do a ton of enhancements, unfortunately, or this is a
Mm,
property where we have a lot of money. We would love to do this, this, and this. So I typically will communicate that with them. Yeah.
very interesting. Okay. So they know that they're asking you questions, they're making notes, and then they you do like a presentation, and then you like ask for, okay, give me your proposal, and or just like just give me a proposal, and then we sit down and discuss.
I kind of leave it open ended. I like to kind of see how they respond to the bid. So it's not a test. I just,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
interested. So I've had people just email me the bid after they're done, or I've had people call me and say, hey, we want to sit down, we want to go over this. Here's some things that we notice. Here's some things that we'd like to improve on, and I like that. I would love, I think that shows a lot.
Interesting. Yeah, because so you can ask, like, are usually your friends in that, in that space, property management space, are they also open-minded like that, or they like define a process?
Some probably have more defined processes. And I'm in a unique situation. I don't have to send I don't have to send bids out, a certain period of time, like every 3 years. Some companies require that. I don't have to. Typically, I'm really sending out properties for bid if we acquire a new building, which we do like once a year. So if we get a new building, I'm always going to just test the market, see kind of what's going on out there, and really get those bids then too. But yeah,
Mm,
they're probably some more a little more rigid than me.
got you. Yeah, because this question keeps going on, like, what should we do? And maybe the thing is just ask.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, if just, be transparent. Hey, we really, really want this bid. What can we
Yeah,
do? We've heard great things about Colliers. I mean, nice little things like that don't hurt. But yeah, just as long as you're being transparent, hey, and I know that you have a good reputation, I'm happy to work with you.
got you. Um, so we had a question come in, and they were asking, often owners get involved in this selection process. And so, the property manager is basically collecting these bids, and, then they sit down with the owners and they discuss it. Sometimes the RFPs define like a standard format in which you have to respond. And this format, just like it's looking at the price, like you can tell the format is only looking for the price. And
Yeah.
so, like, how in that situation, like, how do you even differentiate? Because there's a format, you respond to it, then the property manager is like going to collect stuff and give it to the owner. How do you like stand out in that kind of a deal?
Yeah, so it's a case by case basis. So I rarely present bids to owners. A lot of this decision falls on me, and my influence to the owner, what I recommend really is how a bid is persuaded or not, how it falls. So now if I have a new owner who doesn't know me, yeah, I'm probably going to spend a little bit more time showing them the bids, and each time I am showing owners for the most part bids. We recently, a couple of years ago, took over a large portfolio, and the owners were really just interested in price. And so it's really my job to educate the owners and say, hey, look, we're not looking for the lowest price here. I know that's what you want, but it's not going to benefit your buildings if we go lowball here. We really need to either do, middle or, and in that situation, they're not going to take the highest bid by any means. But really, it's my recommendations that they do, for the most part, listen to.
Interesting. Got you. So, I mean, even if the format is like very rigid, you still have this opportunity to explain why that's unique.
Right. Yeah. They're not going to just let me send in the bids without any kind of explanation. So I'm always trying to educate them. Hey, here's where we are. Here's what we need. Your buildings aren't looking great right now. You really, really need this to keep tenants, get more tenants, whatever it might be. But that's really what my job is. So a lot of the times people will kind of come in really low thinking that that'll help them out. And I look at that and I can see maybe that's not the best route to take.
Can someone actually ask you during that process that, oh, how are you going to sell this to the owners? Can someone ask you that and
Sure.
then sort of?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I've had people ask me, can you tell me where you are right now, price wise? And can we beat it or can we meet, and they'll try and meet it. And depending on how competitive I want the bids to be, I'll either answer or I won't. So it just depends.
When you want the bids to be competitive is when the owner is sort of is price sensitive.
Yep.
Understood.
Yeah.
Okay. Lots of questions here. I want to take a few of them.
Okay.
Okay, if a landscaping company provides multiple services like tree care, plant health care, irrigation design, does that make them a better candidate?
Not really. I'm not really looking for that. Honestly, to be completely honest, I don't care if you have that or not. That's probably a benefit to you more than it is to me. I'm really looking at how quickly you can get a job done. If that means it's in-house, that's awesome. If it means you need to sub it out, that's up to you. I'm not really looking for that. I just want to know that you can get the job done pretty quickly.
So you're okay. So your control over just like making the property looks better than where they are at right now and so on.
Right. I need the contract done. However you want to do it, that's up to you.
There are folks talking about virtual renderings and visual renderings, and your plan for like on a visual rendering, your plan for improving the property over 3 years and so on. Have you seen those kind of proposals come through?
I have. I love those. That helps me in any kind of capital budgets, situations. I can plug those numbers in. I can look and see, oh, this is a great visual. Visuals are really good for me personally. I like to see, what you've come up with at the building, the price it's going to take to get there. And then that helps me, like I said, in the budgeting process.
Okay. Different question. How many references do you normally want to see in the proposal or good reputation?
My proposal, I don't typically ask for references, but 1 or 2. Okay. I'm gonna ask around regardless. I may call one of the references, but you're pretty much putting people that like you on references. So I'm gonna try and get around that.
Understood. And okay, this I know your preference, but I need this answer. Do you prefer to work with large companies or small companies?
I have worked with both. I think both have benefits to them, and there's pros and cons. So it doesn't matter. That doesn't matter to me.
The essential requirements remain the same, right? Like communication and like feeling that you're still the same.
Correct.
How do you? I think you did answer that question. Okay. Would it be advantageous to submit a proposal that has like a low, medium, high option so that that helps you with conversation downstream?
Yeah, I've had those before. I'm okay with them. It's nice to see options, but I would just need to know what's the tiered, what's included, why is this lower? And obviously I'm sure that would be included in it, but sure, that would be fine in a bid.
Okay, couple of last questions here. So, is there any chance that you would separate out turf apps or some of these individual services from the overall landscaping contract?
Yes.
Do that as a standard practice?
Yeah, typically it's not included. So it's included in the contract, but it's a separate price. So they'll show me typically, here's how much we're going to spend, on your monthly maintenance. This is one set price. And then here's what we're going to charge you for color. And then here's what we're going to charge you for straw or mulch, whatever it might be. But that's all included in one contract.
Got you. So if a turf app company comes up to you and says, hey, we do like turf apps, and you are like, no, this is part of the contract.
Right. I would not let anybody else work on the property except for the landscape vendor. I'm not having separate contracts for, whatever it might be, turf or color. I'm not separating that out. That's all under one umbrella.
Is that because of like just seamless operational reasons, like more people on property, trucks and stuff?
Yeah, it's hard to point fingers if something goes wrong. It's hard to pinpoint if something goes wrong. Somebody is going to say, no, it was them, no, it was me. And honestly, it makes one person accountable. So it's just easier to manage that way.
I think if you were sort of managing them directly, that's just like not your direct expertise, like I would say, and then the landscaper can manage that turf app through their umbrella much more effectively.
Exactly.
Got you. All right. So went through these questions here. So you're getting these bid responses and you're evaluating them. I want to get your reaction on like three things you've heard from our customers. Stuff that helps them stand out. So first, I want to show you. Okay. So this is one of your properties. We can look at this data in three pieces. One is just like all the measurements of assets present on site that need to be maintained. And let's say a landscaper walks in and he has these numbers with him and he's like, look, that's how we have calculated our price. He's showing you the measurements, the property boundaries. He'll sort of, help you zoom down and understand like how accurate these measurements are. And then how does that affect your perception of the work
This
this
is
guy is
great.
doing?
Yeah, this is awesome. A lot of the times, I'm getting bids with just numbers and I'm not seeing how they've come up with them. And honestly, this helps too. Once they get the bid, they know exactly, they have boundary lines, they know bed space, they understand the property. So this would be a huge advantage, honestly, if this was brought to me. And then I would also
Gotcha.
use this, to compare the other bids. Are they in line with this? Are they lower? Why? Are they higher? Why? So this would be, like I said, a great tool.
Sorry, a lot of questions. One fear that happens in that situation is, if they share these numbers with you, what if you share it with other contractors? And so they would be like, oh, let's just give Ali a snapshot of the map and be done with it.
Oh, so the concern is I would show this to another vendor. Okay,
Yeah,
people may do that. Property managers may do that. I personally wouldn't, but I may use the map to show them, hey, this is where you need to be. Or I may say, hey, I've had another bid. This is where it came in at. They showed me, all these variables on how they got to that number. I need you to do the same. But I'm not sure that I would send this specific, information to another vendor. I don't think that would really benefit me.
That's a great way to put it. Yeah. Okay, so first is just the measurements. Second, like knowing which service would be done, where they're going to deploy the mowers, where they're going to do power blowing and so on. I think downstream when they're coming to service your property, it becomes useful. Then you can say, okay, these are the areas they'll hit today. Is it useful to see this sort of early on as well?
Yeah, absolutely. This is very, very helpful and really honestly informative for me because I don't typically know behind the scenes what's going on with a landscape vendor. All I care about is, hey, are you doing what's in the contract? Are you getting to my buildings weekly? Are this would be great to have for sure.
Understood. And just at what point does it become too much information? That's all I'm trying to get here.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So would I be able to look in, what's given to me? Would it be just the map with that first screen you show me? Would you have all of this information? I don't need to know a ton of information. I just as long as you show me this front section right here and hey, here's your square footage, here's how we're coming up with it. I really don't need to know any more. If that makes sense. But I'm also, that's just my personality. I don't need to know all the details. Really, I just need to see, oh, wow, you have this great software that you can that you can plug in my property, get this great information, and that's how you're basing your price off of the bid. So I'm really just looking for that.
Got you. So
there may be property managers who want to see more. And that might be a question. Hey, I have this software. How much do you want to see? How much detail do you want to know?
Let's qualify that. Understood. So definitely an essential tool to use during that process.
Yeah.
Understood. Cool. Okay. Second question here. The other thing that we have heard about being, very useful to sort of stand out is doing like a site report. Just like what you were saying, a few minutes back, checking in and like just sharing ideas on what they are seeing on the property. So let's say this report comes across, you're working with three vendors. One of them did this report, a map of the property, talking about, okay, stuff that can be improved or just they're, in a polite way.
Sure.
Not in like, yeah. So got some photos, did that report. That comes through to you as part of this, selection process. Um, how do you react to that?
This is awesome. Like I said, this would help me kind of see that you're being proactive. And then it would help me also with budgets, presenting this to the owners. This is a great tool. A lot of the times my owners, I have, clients who's been at the property one time in 5 years. They don't know what the buildings look like. So this is a good tool to kind of use, hey, we really need to do this, this, and this. We need to put money in the budget for this. And so this would be a great tool for that. This also is, if you do get the bid, this is great to have, once a week. I don't know if that's a possibility. Hey, Ali, here's what's going on your properties. What can we fix? What can we not? Just that open communication. But this is a great tool.
Got you. So since we are on that topic, let me just ask you a couple of follow-up questions on that. The standard cadence that folks talk about, sending these reports out, they want to hit at least like once a month on important properties. Sure. And so they would go out and they would, do this report. Once a month sounds like a good frequency to you?
Yeah, once a month is good. Now, if there's reoccurring issues that probably need to be addressed prior to, a month, maybe a week, 2 weeks, I would like it then. But yeah, once a month, it's hard for me to invest more of my time into the landscape aspect of a building, so once a month would be great to look at this, kind of check in, see what needs to be done.
Understood. And in that report, they should be open about, even the issues they are seeing, right? Like, because the tendency is just report the good stuff. And
oh yeah. Yeah.
So,
yeah. I mean, like I mentioned earlier, I'd like to know we're having issues with, these irrigation zones, or, you have crack weeds throughout your building. We're working on it. Or you have, trees down here, limbs down, those are things that, yes, I need to know.
Got you. So here's a different kind of report that we do. It's called the site audit report. Starts with a map, starts with follows a cover letter follows. Then you have a summary of all the stuff that they saw on site, and then just like gets into the details one by one. So I mean, I feel like this should be done like on a case-to-case basis. If they walk by and they see stuff, they tell you about it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, and this should be something that the crew, I would think, would have access to. And each visit, they plug in, here's what we're noticing. And good things and bad things. I think that would be super beneficial.
I hear you. Okay. Let me go back, stop sharing. All right.
And I'll say this too. So, I have a close relationship with my vendors. If I have time, I'll, hop in the car with them. We'll ride around the properties. We'll talk. I'll point out things that, I notice, he notices, and then how that worked without this, which is why this would be great. He's having to go back and really he's taking notes when we're riding around, and then he's having to go back and having to price everything, follow up with me on the areas that, so I think this would be, instead of us having to ride around, once a month. Now that's fine, but this would be save a lot of time.
Got you. All right. So back to our RFP process, and are there like set out guidelines on like selections, evaluation criteria, fairness principles, and so on that sort of organizationally get defined at Colliers?
I do not specifically have any of those. I know other management companies do. And like I said, it's kind of just owner based what they're looking for.
Understood. All right. So I think you did go through a lot of those criteria that you look at and the owners sit and talk about. So I think we have a good sense of how that selection process looks like. Let me go back to some of the newer questions that have come in the chat here. If a site has very old irrigation controllers that don't save as much water as newer smart controllers, do you want to get quotes for recommending the smart controllers? And if so, is that considered a capital improvement, revenue generating improvement, or both?
Yeah, I'm always open to see pricing for improving the property. So, and that would typically be a capital improvement. but yeah, absolutely. Anything that would benefit the property in the long run. Yeah, I'd love to see pricing on that.
Got you. And then, sorry if I missed it, I was reading questions. This is a capital improvement or a revenue generating improvement
Yeah,
for you?
capital.
Okay. Frank, this is Site Recon. That's the software you were seeing. What would be the best approach when interested in a big government tender? Any advice on people trying to go after government tenders, Ali?
Oh, I don't know if you want to do that. No, I mean, they're tough. They're tough. So, we have a lot of government tenants, and that was the question, government, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I don't want any tips on that. They're tough. They're tough. I'm not sure, just the way their payment process is, and there's a lot of, it just comes with a lot of issues, but go for it. I don't have any tips for it, unfortunately.
Appreciate it. So question here, follow-up question, like what definition would you set for capital improvements versus non-capital improvements? How do you differentiate between the two? Can you give examples on like what falls under what?
Yeah, really, it just depends on the longevity of what you're doing. So, an enhancement that's going to basically benefit the property for years to come, that would be a capital improvement. Flowers, sod typically, it just would depend on how big of a project you're doing and where. But really, it's just kind of, how long is this going to benefit the property? If it's just a quick fix, no. If it's going to, extend the value of the property, then yes, that's capital.
Where's the line? Is it like 2 years is where it like moves from one category?
I would say 3 and up.
3 and up.
Yeah,
Okay.
it would just depend on what it is.
Okay. All right. Let me open the Q&A box here. Oh, great question from Christine. Do you have multiple vendors or do you have one for all your 28, 29 properties?
So I like to have multiple. I like to kind of keep competition, but I do have one vendor that has the majority of all my buildings because he's just fantastic. I have opened up some of my newer buildings to some other companies, and they're great. It's just I have a really good relationship with one that has the majority of them. But I do like to have multiple just for that reason. I like to keep everybody on their toes.
Good stuff. Ryan has a question. How open are you with sharing budgets for pricing? So that was like a case-to-case basis answer you gave, Ali, right?
Yeah.
All right. That's done. Speak about budgets. What are characteristics of a good budget? Oh, okay. Can you please speak to budgets? What are the characteristics of a good budget compared with those less helpful to managers and owners?
What makes a good budget?
Yeah, that's being asked. What are the characteristics of a good budget compared with those less helpful to managers and ownership? Okay, yeah, from their standpoint.
Yeah, so, if you're pricing before you have the contract, you only know so much. You only know really what I'm asking in the RFP. So once you do get the contract, that's something that we can sit down with, together and talk about what my expectations are, what your expectations are. I'm not sure what, is a good budget, but that's something that, we would define together and, what enhancements are needed, what's, what we need just really monthly right now. But like I said, it would be something that would be owner-based.
Got you. Question on irrigation. If you had a large property with a poorly maintained irrigation system, would you ever contract the irrigation portion separately?
Yes. Yeah, if it was a huge overhaul where the irrigation needed to be, completely upgraded, sure, I'm probably going to get bids from you. And then I'm going to get bids from other people. It just depends on the size of the project. If we're having continual issues, you can't get it resolved, I'm going to have to look elsewhere.
Sorry, I may have misheard. Look elsewhere for the whole landscaping contract?
No, I'm going to ask questions. So why can't your irrigation company fix it? What's going on? And if they're, recommending something kind of crazy that's going to be, extremely expensive for the owner, it's my due diligence to have to go out and just get some second opinions.
All right, got you. Sorry, everyone. I'm trying to read through the questions and like listen to what Ali is saying at the same time. Okay, you look at all these properties in the market, you talk to your friends. If you were to think about percentage of commercial work that is price driven versus not, what would that split be?
It's probably less price driven. Everybody's really looking for quality. There's only a handful of owners who aren't great and are really just looking for low ball bids. But for the most part, Huntsville's growing. And it would depend on the market. Huntsville's growing right now, and we have the majority are great owners and people that understand the benefits. There's typically, and really in any market, I'm sure it's just a small handful of people who don't understand that.
Is it like a 70-30 split?
Sure, we'll go with that.
So I have to put some number.
You're fine.
All right. So another question from Eddie, great one. What are your top 3 hot buttons?
Hard buttons?
Hot buttons, like stuff that gets you mad.
Okay, so I've hit on it a little bit before, but I don't like to go to buildings and notice things without you already letting me know there's issues. I do not like dead flowers in beds, and I want them pulled. I shouldn't see anything like that. I don't like straw that's not tucked and it's not nicely trenched. I don't like crack weeds. I mean, how long do we have? I grew up around landscape. My father owned multiple landscape companies and was pretty successful at it, and now is a landscape consultant. So I'm sure he wants me to plug that.
Ken Thomas, shout out to him.
That's right. So, I don't really have an eye, but I understand what, sets a property apart, and you could quickly look at it and see. So, just the small things that make a property when you pull up look good. That I don't want to see small issues that should be hit on a maintenance cycle that are not being hit. That's really what bothers me.
Understood. How frequently are you visiting your properties?
So on a good month, once a week. For all of them. On, a bad month, once a month. It just depends. I can't get out to all of them. And that's why I do rely on my landscape contract a lot. Is they're out there, they're putting in the work, so I don't have to worry about it. Like I said, my current vendor, I don't have to worry. If there's going to be snow, he's handled it. I'm not worrying, which is, if you can make my life easier, that's fantastic.
Are there like cycles in your work too? Like some seasons more busy than the others?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
How does that shake out for a 12? Which ones?
Yeah. So, and this is probably a good thing to note, is budget season for most property managers is from September to around November. So we're turning in our budgets for the next year typically by November. So if there's anything like price increases that anybody's aware of, they're going to need to change from our contract. I need to know that anywhere between, September to November. Once we get into the next year, if you haven't already told me, my budget's set. It's hard for me to have to go to the owner and then say, hey, they actually want to increase this. That's something that I should have already known. So it's really important for that communication. If you're aware, we need to up our prices. I know our contract says this. I'm happy to work with you, but if you can give me that time frame, that's really important to me.
So you would want to know that by August?
Yeah.
Okay.
So those months I am swamped. I'm very busy. I rarely would get out to my buildings then.
Got you. And then, so September to, what about like Jan, Feb, March, like rest of the year is all right?
Yeah, those are fine. They're busy, but I'm not able to leave typically and get out and visit the properties like I would like to in those months, September to November.
Understood. So on that subject for a minute, on the price increase subject, how much of a price increase is all right?
It just depends. If you've, I know this is not what everybody wants to hear, but if you've kind of lowballed a bit and we have a contract set and then you're going to come and give me a 10% increase, I want to know why. Why didn't you give that price to me when we just signed a contract? If it's 2%, 3%, I'm happy to work with you. I want to know why. I'm going to need to have backup, but it just depends.
So are you okay with 5%? I'm asking that because maybe the inflation rate is 5%.
Yeah, 5% is okay. We would need to have conversations on why.
Okay. Is inflation a good enough reason?
Yeah, sometimes. I just need to, that would be a conversation that I think, and typically I can say to ownership, hey, this is what's happening. This is where we are inflation wise. And typically they understand that.
All right. Got you. Questions. Okay. Question from Ivan. He's asking, preference wise, if you have to choose between great, best in, customer experience, like the way he communicates, interacts, versus best in service quality, like the edges will be sharp, the flowers will be awesome. Like, is there a,
Yeah. If my buildings look great and you're not talking to me, I'm not talking to you. I don't care. As long as I'm coming up to the building, I don't have any problems. My buildings look beautiful. We're getting tenants renew, and you don't want to talk to me. I don't really want to talk to you. Cool. That's fine with me. That's perfectly fine with me. I have no problems with that. Makes my job easier sometimes, honestly.
yeah, less paperwork, right?
Right. That's
I hear
never the
you.
case though. So that never happens.
Um, is there like a way for you to actually judge that upfront, because you are going and looking for references, right?
Yeah, yes and no. I mean, I can only have the opinion of others. And then I don't know. If I don't know you, I don't know you. It's a risk. It's the risk that I take. And I've taken it before and it hasn't worked out. And sometimes it has. So it's hard. It is hard to gauge.
Got you. So Manny is 21, somewhere between 21 to 24 years old. He has this question for you. Like, I'm a kid, I'm building this business. Does it, you look, are you scared to give like a contract to a 22-year-old?
Depends on what it is. If it's a building that doesn't require a lot of time and it's something that I can, get to know you, gain your trust. I'm not going to give you a ton of responsibility up front, no, but I'm going to give you something that maybe you can prove yourself with. I'm not giving a huge portfolio to somebody that I don't know that doesn't have a lot of experience. It's just, but I'll give you something, that's smaller and we can start there.
Got you. And if he's like, managing, what other tips would you have for him? Like, leave my question aside. Like, what other tips would you have for him? If
I would recommend, networking. It's going to help in the long run. Like I said before, I allocate once a month. And, a lot of the times I have vendors just stop in. They want to meet with me for 10 minutes. They want to take me to coffee. I don't have time for that. But I do have time, once a month at these meetings to meet people, get to know people. I would really recommend and encouraging anybody to join those.
Okay. Question from Nathan. The property management companies in my area have very low reviews on Google. What are things that I should look for when wanting to work with these, with more companies?
The property management companies have low reviews. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, really it's how well ownership is, what's important to them. If they're getting low reviews on Google, maybe they don't put as much importance into things that make, their tenants happy. Maybe they're not, they don't care about the landscape. So I'm not sure that that's something that maybe you would want to do. I don't know if they don't find the importance of good reviews, then I'm not sure I would put my importance on those companies, but that would just be me.
Got you. Manny, forgot to say one thing to you. Best of luck, dude. You're doing a great job.
Absolutely. You got this. You can do it.
Go crush it, man.
Yeah.
So question from Shannon. We receive RFP packages with very robust specifications, but when reviewing the site conditions, it is obvious that is not what the site is receiving. How to bid?
Yeah. I think what you provided would be a great place to start. Here's what you're asking. Here's what I'm seeing. And here's ways we can improve. And you can do that in a nice way. Yeah. That happens a lot. I'm sure that happens a lot. You're requiring something that's at one level and the property is at a different level. So I think that document you provided would be super helpful.
Understood. So that basically helps you highlight, here are the gaps. And if these are to be fixed, that's where the additional cost comes from.
Yeah.
And so.
Absolutely.
Got you. I've been bidding on properties in the 250 to 500K per year range. Often I'm heading that cost is the main the cost is the main deciding factor. How do you stand out? Can you come in the middle of the pack and still be chosen? If so, what are you looking for that you'd choose a company that was higher and not the highest priced?
I'm really looking for medium level typically. I don't always go for the highest price. I don't typically select. And if they are super high, I want to know why. But I am normally looking for some kind of medium. And then it's based off of how you're communicating with me, reputation, and overall feel that I get from you.
Got you. All right. So we are almost coming up on an hour. I had a couple more things to show you. So Ali, you got 30 more minutes, right?
Yeah, 15:30. I should be good.
Okay. All right. So guys, we're gonna keep rolling. Couple of things I want to say to the folks who need to leave at the end of the hour. If you want to implement those things that Ali is recommending, especially with those reports, with those estimates and those measurements, let me know. Honestly, it's not that big a deal. Price-wise, you're looking at something like $100 per month to begin with. And obviously there are different packages, 100, 300, 500. And so I'm gonna ask a poll really quickly if you want us to reach out to you and help you get access to those tools. And we'll let this run in the background for a minute and go back to the questions. Oh, in fact, yes. So Ali, question for you. How important are social media platforms when bidding?
I am not looking at them, to be completely honest, but maybe younger property managers are. I would just kind of age-based, whoever you're working with, maybe look into that. But no, I'm not typically looking at social media.
Can I ask you like a split again?
Sure.
What percentage of your friends would be looking at that versus not?
Oh, out of my colleagues, 20% are looking at it.
Ooh, that's it?
Yeah, we're not looking at that. But, I'm sure there's more younger property managers coming into the scene that are. And really what I'm looking at is if I know that you're maintaining a building around me, I'm going to look at that building. I'm not really going to look online.
But then this number would grow over time as more younger people show up.
Yep, I would think so, probably.
And so social media would be LinkedIn, right? That 20% is on LinkedIn or like some other Instagram or?
Well, so what would I be looking at on social media? I'm really looking for the product and what you can offer me. So there's nothing I can see online that's going to help me, if that makes sense. So sure, I see you on LinkedIn, cool. That doesn't help me. And typically I'll know if you're a larger company from the get-go. I don't need to go online to see that. Or I'll know if you're a smaller company. Some people put their work online. They're showing the best that they have normally. So like I said, I'm going to go in real time to your property and see how it looks.
Got you.
Look, I'm a lot older than you think I am. So that's my take, is if you're dealing with maybe an older property manager or something like that, they're not going to look.
Got you. But you would still like search their name, but you're all coming from your networks. Like at that list that the RFP is going out to, all of them.
Yeah, right. Let's say I'm in a market that I know nobody. I'll maybe Google and see who shows up. I mean, if that makes sense, I'll Google to see. I just said Google, but that is true. Yeah, I'm looking to see who's around me, but I would be asking recommendations as well.
Got you. Okay, back to the Q&A box here. If you have qualified your vendors, so all three have a great reputation, you and your colleagues already work with them, is the decision then based on pricing?
Yeah, it would be. If I know everybody's great, everybody's wonderful, they do a great job, I would base it off price and who I have the best rapport with, honestly.
I had an open-ended question here. Oh yeah, there we go. When you look back at your experience of 15 years of being in real estate, what things have landscaping vendors done that just have stuck with you? Good things. Let's start with the good things. And
yeah,
I want to hear as many as possible.
Like I said, I think before, anything that makes my job easier. So if it's something I need, my job changes every day. I have things that land in my lap that I need somebody that can get out to my building. And if they're supposed to service my building on a Monday, I need you to actually service Wednesday. I have owners coming in town. If you're quick to respond, and you can, change schedules around, great, Ali, anything you need, I'm going to get out there. Just really anything that helps me. Like I said earlier, we'll have a storm, trees down by 8:00 in the morning. I already have an email on what's going on at my buildings. Really just outstanding service. And my buildings don't have to look fantastic, but I know that somebody cares about them just as much as me, is really important. You know, they're taking ownership and pride in my building is really what I'm looking for.
As if it's their own.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a reflection on them just as it is on me.
That's true. Any special gestures that have stood out? So you did mention one, like you wanted them to sort of come out with schedule. They did that. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yes, you're putting me on the spot. I mean, no, anything that, they'll drop whatever they're doing to help me is awesome. I can't think of specifics at the moment. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. You're good.
If my landscaper's on here, I'm so sorry, Ben. I promise. I'll think of something you've done soon.
No, yeah, I've heard stuff like you buy these stuff that could make the property look good, right? Like, so there are flowers at a certain spot, you got extras, and yeah, I mean, you just like go and put them.
Absolutely. Absolutely. They'll, at no cost if they want to, and that's happened before, hey, we have extra flowers, we're going to put them in here for you, no cost. That's awesome. I mean, that helps for sure.
Yeah, I've heard about, the sidewalks not looking great. And because the pressure washing crew is going to drive by, they will just like ask the pressure washing crew to hit the sidewalk, clean that up.
Absolutely. It's small things like that that really make a big difference.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, okay, so good things. What about some of the bad things that you've been like, oh my God?
Oh, I mean, I've had companies leave me high and dry in the middle of leaf season. And so, I mean, that's probably the worst. But yeah, I mean, luckily, I haven't had any terrible things happen. That was probably the worst. And I had great companies who stepped in and wanted to help. And so that was, that stood out to me too. I have these companies that they want this contract, they're going to try and help me. But, it really is when I have to say it multiple times. Hey, we're continuing to have an issue here, continuing to have an issue, and it doesn't get done. That's where I have the problem. And that's typically where I let a vendor go.
How many mistakes can someone make with you? 3,
There's
4?
not a number. There's not a number. I know you like specifics, but no, it's probably until I get fed up enough that I'm tired. I'm wasting my time trying to continue managing this vendor who just can't seem to get it done. So I am pretty reasonable. And if there's, reasons why something's not getting done, I understand. But, if it's stuff that should be getting done in a normal maintenance service that's not happening, and I'm having to tell you over and over and over and over again, then it's a problem.
Got you. Talking about specifics, I had another specific question lined up.
Okay.
So let's say you have a $100,000 maintenance contract. Are enhancement budgets tied to the size of that maintenance contract, or like they're
separate? Yeah, and it would just depend. So even though it's a large portfolio and you're putting a lot of money into the maintenance contract, some owners don't even want to put any enhancements in. So just because it's a huge property doesn't mean a lot. It really just depends on what each owner wants to do and what they see as an advantage. But it's not tied, no.
Do you share that? But so that budget would be set during September and November for the next year, right?
Yeah.
Your contractors know, like, this is the budget set for the year?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yep. I'm working with them. They're giving me those numbers, and then I'm telling them once I have the budget approved, I put this in the budget. So you can expect this come June of next year. This project's going to start going.
So they basically help you set that first. So there are a bunch of ideas you guys sit and look at.
Yep.
Choose, budget, execute next year.
Absolutely.
Understood. Does stuff come up that has to be done within the same year?
Yeah. There's always emergency situations. There's stuff that a huge tenant wants that we need to provide to them. We had a ton of trees that we had to remove unexpectedly last year. It's a $40,000 project we had not budgeted for. So, and that's where I would bid that out. It would depend on the size of the project, the amount, things like that. But yeah, things come up, of course.
Got you. And then that would sort of draw down from next year's money, I suppose, like if you spent all that now.
Yes and no. It would just depend. I have in that same scenario, the owner spent that last year. They're putting in a lot more money into the property this year. So it really just depends.
And then those ideas like aesthetics versus functional versus safety, all these different categories.
Yep.
So you guys have like that priorities sort of come down from the owners, and like then you sort of set the ideas up?
My owners don't have a lot of ideas. My ones. I'm bringing everything at the property to their attention. So, hey, you have this root issue that's causing a trip hazard. Hey, you're having, these beds look really bad. We need to extend them. Hey, there's no sod here. I'm bringing all that into, their orbit so that they understand. And so then we're trying to base a budget off of that.
Got you. And so their direction is like, oh, I want this to look better versus like you sort of know where they will end up spending money. And so you then.
Okay. Yeah. And, life safety issues take precedence over aesthetic. So we're doing that kind of work first.
Got you. Is there a specific format in which you prefer to receive enhancement proposals?
No, I don't have a specific format. And if I did, I would probably communicate that.
Got you. So the report that I was showing you earlier, does that kind of work? So,
yeah, that's perfect. That's perfect.
Got you. Is that weird? Is my screen visible?
Yes.
Oh, which one it is though? There's so many of them here. Hang on. But okay, hard to judge. All right, got some more. Ali, coming up on a few minutes, I think you will have to jump off, right?
Okay, yes, no worries though.
Okay, got some more open questions. If you're good, we can take them.
Yeah.
All right. If a contractor comes into your building without an appointment to make an introduction, what is your opinion on that strategy?
I don't love it, and a lot of the times I'm either not in the office or I don't have the time. If it's a quick, hi, here's, my card, I'll meet you. But a lot of the time I don't have the time. So that's where I would just encourage anybody to join those groups where I can really sit down and get to know you.
How do you participate very actively in the local BOMA chapter?
Yeah, so I just finished my term as president, so I'm very much involved.
And what would you say about others in the space, your colleagues?
Yes, and it's super beneficial for any vendors. That's really their time to get to know, any kind of property managers. They're able to market themselves. It's a really good place to meet people.
Understood. All right. I think we are up with our time, and I think that's okay. A couple more here. Is there a bid list for Colliers? Vendor registration or get involved?
There's not a place that you can get on the list. I'm happy to, if you want to email me and just say, hey, put me on a list. I do have a section in my email where I just keep names, but if it's just a name to me, I'm typically probably not going to reach out. But other property management companies, I'm sure do have lists that I think would be beneficial to get on.
Yeah, Johnny. Yeah, I've always thought being part of a chapter and volunteering was a great way to meet managers. Ali agrees. BOMA is the group. Is there any other group you're part of other than BOMA?
IREM is a great group. I'm not sure. It should be pretty much throughout. So, but really BOMA and IREM are the two that I'm pretty heavily.
All right. At the end of the list, Ali, thank you so much for the time today. This was really awesome. Can we ask for an encore sometime later? Would that be all right?
Of course. Anything you need, I'm happy to help.
Sweet. Thank you so much, Ali. You're awesome. Thank you so much for sharing all this knowledge with us.
Thank you for having me. I hope it helps.
It did. Appreciate you all for being here. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Ali. Take care. Have a great day. Have a great weekend, everyone.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.